So I am going to tell you a story, my story. In this video, I will share with you how I went from rock bottom, the lowest of the low, to making well over $1,000 a day at only 21 years old. And on top of that, I will also reveal my full step-by-step strategy so you can just copy me. Now, I've been told this stuff is worth more than some people's expensive paid programs, but today you get it for completely free. So let's start at the beginning. If we haven't met before, my name is Fred, and I'm a 21-year-old entrepreneur from a low middle-class background. I grew up in a small French town with no real career opportunities. My father is a nurse and my mother a nursing assistant that works nights at the hospital. Growing up, we often lacked money and life just felt very limiting overall. On the outside, it could have looked like we were just your regular middle-class family, but that was far from being the case. Inside, it was a torn-apart family, and lack of money only made things worse. Growing up, my father made my life hell by being verbally and physically abusive towards me. The truth is, no matter where I would go, I wouldn't feel safe. I'd go to school and I'd get bullied, laughed at, because I was different, even though at the time I didn't really understand why. But then I would come back home and have to deal with the violence of my father. He was profoundly depressed because he hated his job, his life in general, which led him to becoming an alcoholic and violent. Growing up, he had many dreams. One of them was to go to Paris to become a comedian and to perform on stage in front of big audiences. As an extrovert, he was naturally inclined towards public speaking and he knew how to make people like him. But you see, one thing I've learned in life is that patterns are always created, and unless you make the conscious choice to break a pattern, it will keep repeating itself in the future. So it's without surprise that my own father grew up in a poor and violent family as well. His parents never encouraged any of his dreams, never gave him any attention, while at the same time favoring one of their daughters over all of their other kids. Now, I don't remember exactly how young I was. All I remember is that I was around 7 to 10 years old, and my father would make me stay up late at night in the corridor while my mother was away at work and my sister was sleeping in the other room. He'd be drunk as hell, telling me about his problems and about how miserable he was. And whenever we'd get into a fight and my mother was at home, she had to physically intervene to prevent my father from beating me up. I remember her telling me countless times, if you don't stop this, one day you're gonna end up in the hospital. Now, when it comes to my mother, my relationship with her wasn't always as strong as it is today. When I was younger, the truth is, I was personally dealing with many intimate issues, and for a while, I felt like she didn't really get me. But over time, my mother and I got closer, and I can say that I'm glad to have found an ally in a difficult time. My mother worked 10-hour night shifts at the hospital, and while she never really complained about her job, let me tell you, it was far from being an easy job. At work, she and her colleagues would literally be treated like commodities by the patients they were providing free healthcare to. These same patients were pretty dangerous. They were dealers that got into knife fights with gangs, criminals ordering the nurses to go get them McDonald's at 3 a.m, a real shit show. So my mother, alongside with her other female co-workers, would work in this dangerous, hostile environment with essentially no one to protect them, only to be treated like shit. And sometimes it would happen that one of the patients would get violent and start insulting, even hitting one of the nurses. So growing up in such an environment, and even just having to face like this violence, this pain, this misery myself, I start to feel like life is just about misery and pain, like there is no such thing as happiness and joy. Because the truth is, I had never personally witnessed these things around me. And while at the time I was aiming to join the French Special Forces, the truth is, if I were to do that, then this would mean that on a daily basis, I'd have to deal with pain, misery, and violence. And to be honest, I was pretty sick of it. And deep down, I just had a dream. The dream to be free, to be happy, to live a life of abundance, to wake up in the morning and to be able to do whatever I want to do, to purchase anything I want without taking the price tag into consideration. And I don't know why, but I've always had this voice in the back of my head that would tell me that one day I would be extremely successful and wealthy. To be honest, at home, every evening over dinner, I would hear my parents complaining about the price of food. There wouldn't be a single day I wouldn't hear them say that kiwis or bread or lettuce was expensive. At the time, I didn't exactly know what I wanted out of life. I couldn't exactly put it into words, but all I knew was that I didn't want to end up like my father, depressed, alcoholic, and with a job I hated. But I was also never really drawn to university and school in general. I wasn't a bad student by any means. In fact, it was quite the opposite, because I always got good grades. But if a subject didn't interest me, I simply wouldn't put in the effort and I wouldn't even work on it at all, because to me it felt pointless. I didn't see the point in memorizing a bunch of information by heart only to recite everything for a test. And at the same time, I naturally excelled in certain areas like languages and economics, so I focused on those. Now at this stage in my life, I think I'm just going to join the police and find some work in in Paris. But then, as I approach my 12th birthday, all hell breaks loose and the trajectory of my life changes completely. Three major things happen in my life at this point. I get into private middle school in a small town near my hometown, and I start to see how wealthier kids live life. I see their parents dropping them off to school in Porsches, Audis, BMWs, while the rest of the broke kids like me had to take the crowded bus. And so I see these wealthy kids walking around with expensive clothes, the latest iPhone. At the time I didn't even have a phone, but I didn't really think too much of it, because it's not like all this time I had been living under a rock. I knew some people had more money than my family did. But until that point in my life, except from the very rare occasions I would happen to spot a supercar on the highway or I'd see a celebrity on TV, it's not like I had really been exposed to luxury or even to wealth. And while it wasn't an expensive private school, like there were lots of broke kids just like me as well, there were also wealthier families, so it's the first time I really saw wealthier people and could interact with them. But part of me was always fascinated by wealthy people and by luxury. Whenever I would see a supercar on the road, which again happened maybe twice a year at best, I would suddenly feel inspired. I would wonder who could be driving it and how they could possibly afford to drop 200,000, 300,000, even more sometimes on a car. Surely they knew things I didn't, but I wondered, how can I discover their secrets? And so seeing how different life was for these wealthier kids, hearing their stories when they'd come back from their vacations, while I'd be forced to stay in my small town of pain and of misery, I started to believe that maybe money could give me the things I had always dreamed of: freedom, abundance, and above all, peace of mind. At the same time, Instagram started to really become a thing, and pretty much everybody at school was using it. That was back when team pages were very popular on Instagram and hustle motivational quotes were going crazy viral. Now at the time, like I said, I didn't even have a phone, so I pestered my parents to actually give in and buy me a phone. Now it turns out the phone they bought me was so cheap that it couldn't even run Instagram anyway. Now at this specific period in my life, two other major things happened as well. My mother got diagnosed with cancer at the time, and I also realized I could never actually join the special forces because of medical issues. I felt like everything in my life was just falling apart, and as if that wasn't bad enough already, the other kids at school would bully me endlessly because I was broke and because I was too weird in their opinion. So whereas before I was just sad at life, now I started to get really mad inside. I was scared to lose my mother, because if she were to leave this world, then that would mean that my younger sister and I would have to face our abusive father and the rest of the world all by ourselves, not to mention that the loss of my mother would only have made his condition worse. So more than ever, I became aware of the fact that if only I were rich, then 99% of my problems would go away instantly. We could find the best doctors, get the best treatments for my mother to increase her chances of making it. We could stop worrying about the price of everything and go on vacation a couple times a year and enjoy life more. My father wouldn't have to work a job that he hates. Instead, he could follow his passion, and I knew for a fact that would have completely transformed him as a person. And that's when I fully realized I need to find a way to get rich. And ever since that day, I became completely obsessed with that thought. So what do? I start reading books like Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I start to read books like How to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So by that point in my life, I know I want to get rich, but I don't know how to do it yet. And while at first these books taught me a lot, the truth is they don't really go in depth on how to build wealth. They serve more as an introduction to the world of finance and business to complete beginners. So I tried to start a candy business because I see some people doing that in the United States, and I think, you know what, let me try, people like candies. But of course that goes terribly wrong. I go in the neighborhood, I start knocking on people's doors, and most people don't answer or they simply don't care. And I was actually surprised to learn that a lot of other kids were actually doing this in the neighborhood, and pretty often, so I wasn't the first to try. In the end though, even despite the many rejections, I ended up making $17 an hour, which funnily enough was actually more than minimum wage in France. And I didn't realize it at the time, but everything I was going through at that period in my life was actually teaching me essential life lessons that would later on serve me immensely. I had to learn to keep moving no matter how many times I got rejected. I had to develop better social skills because I needed to speak to cold leads, and business is all about people. I had to understand why most people were not interested in my offer, how my competition was operating, and what made some people buy my candies on the contrary. I remember coming back home right before dinner, the sky was already getting darker, and I told my mother how much money I made from selling candies in the neighborhood. And while she thought it was pretty funny, she was also proud of me for taking action and doing what it takes to get closer to my goals. At the time, she told me it showed my determination, and I was grateful to have someone recognize that. Now, of course, that business didn't last long because the effort to reward ratio simply wasn't worth it. In the end, I gave away the rest of the candies to some friends at school. Now, while that experience taught me a lot of valuable lessons, the truth is I felt pretty discouraged because I saw that as a failure. I felt like I wasn't good enough to start a proper business yet because I was too young, young, too shy, too inexperienced, and of course, I also lacked money to start a proper business. And because I had no one to guide me, no one to show me the way, I started to think maybe I should still get a job as a policeman or I should go to the army, even if I can't actually join the special forces. But as you can guess, my story would be over by now, and I wouldn't be making these videos speaking to you today if I had decided to stick with my original plan after all. So what exactly happened? One day, a few weeks before I was about to turn 12, I was watching YouTube videos online and I suddenly decided to type how to get rich in the YouTube search bar. Little did I know that by doing this, I would stumble upon a video that would change my life forever. It was a video by an online entrepreneur who showed that he made around $72,000 in the last month. And in reality, since that figure was in euros, it's probably closer to $85,000. He was selling courses, one of his best sellers being an affiliate marketing course for beginners. And at the time, I couldn't afford his course, even though I wanted in. But instead, I decided to carefully analyze all of his sales funnels. I was completely fascinated by his business model, and in particular, his course business. I thought it was completely crazy to be able to make so much money, over $80,000 in a month, simply by making YouTube videos and sharing your knowledge with people. Not to mention the leverage, you'd only need to make the course once and you could sell it a million times. And then, as I started to do some research, I discovered a few more creators like him on YouTube and I started to binge watch their content as well. I learned about email marketing, about sales funnels, about affiliate marketing, and many other things. It's funny because I still remember it to this day. I'd put my computer by my bed and I would literally write down everything as I was watching their videos. Now at the time, there weren't that many people making business content on YouTube, and when they did, it was mostly purely educational content with how-tos, step-by-step tutorials, and sometimes you could have a little bit of self-improvement sprinkled here and there. My best friend of the time would often joke about this with me, because oftentimes in the morning he would see when I had last been seen on WhatsApp, and most days it would show the last time I had been active on WhatsApp was at 2, 3, even 4 AM, when the next day I had to get up at 6:30 AM to take the bus to go to school. So while I was pretty sleep deprived during that phase of my life, I definitely learned a lot about business, and especially about online marketing. So I essentially had a big revelation by stumbling upon that video. I realized you could make a lot of money online from the comfort of your home, starting with $0. Literally no other business in the world offered such opportunities. All that was required was a Wi-Fi connection, a laptop, and the willingness to put in the work. So I decided to get to work and to start my first ever online business. After managing to convince my parents to let me have a tablet for my birthday, I was finally able to run Instagram. And because back in 2016, Instagram team pages were growing in popularity, I decided to start my own. And since I was dipping my toes in the world of online entrepreneurship, online business, at first I started by making motivational quotes for entrepreneurs like I would see some of the big accounts doing. My initial plan was to build up my Instagram audience to then sell shoutouts to other people and also digital products like ebooks, courses to help people to build their own Instagram following. At the time, Instagram was my favorite social media platform. I just really liked the concept of sharing pictures, but also it was pretty easy to get followers and likes. But I actually ended up quitting that business pretty quickly because an algorithm change made it more difficult to get likes and followers. And so in the end, I ended up making $0 with that. But of course, I wasn't just going to stop there. I wasn't going to give up on my dream to be free and wealthy that easily. After all, I was only getting started, wasn't I? Now, a few months later, a new trend emerges on social media: dropshipping AliExpress and Wish products using Shopify. A lot of people started to make videos on YouTube teaching you how to build an entire Shopify store from scratch, and some of them also started selling online courses. With my best friend at the time, we thought this business model was pretty interesting. After all, we could make money from the comfort of our home, selling products we didn't have to create ourselves or bother to store in our parents' basement, and all of that without having to show our face online. So this seemed like the perfect business model for us. At that point in my life, I'm around 16 to 17, and my best friend is working a job at the grocery store, so he's making minimum wage while I'm not making a single cent because I'm still a high school student. He tells me he's going to buy a 2.5k dropshipping course, and he says we should work on it together, and I agreed. That course was essentially teaching us the winning product method. So what we had to do was to build a Shopify store around one product in particular. To find that winning product, we'd need to spy on the competition and essentially steal trendy products from successful competitors. The problem with that method is that even if you managed to build a successful dropshipping store. This usually wouldn't last long because trends come and go, so you would constantly need to recreate new Shopify stores around new trendy products. For instance, a very popular winning product that you already know is the fidget spinner. That used to be very popular for a few months a couple years ago. Another winning product was the rose bear, which was very popular around Valentine's Day, but then quickly died off. So after spending entire days spying on the competition, we finally found our winning product. We were going to sell a flat squeeze mop for 50 bucks. Why? Because that's how much the competition was charging for it. And since they were spending so much money on Facebook ads, we figured they wouldn't keep doing that, spending so much money on ads, if it wasn't profitable. So we built a Shopify store around that product and we made some creatives for Facebook ads. We launched our first ever ad campaign, and only 30 minutes after, we got our first sale. Now when that happened, I was having dinner with my parents, but when I come back to my room, I notice dozens of WhatsApp notifications from my friend. He was going full-blown crazy because we had gotten our first ever online sale. I can tell you that this moment changed my life forever. Not because of the money itself. After all, we only made 50 bucks and most of it wasn't even profit. But you see, in that instant, I realized, wow, you can actually make money online. Because before that moment, I had only ever seen other people succeeding online and saying it was possible to make money online. And while I agreed with them and I believed them, at the same time, I had never experienced it myself. That is, until that particular moment. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. The confidence that this first sale gave me was short-lived because Facebook ads quickly ate up all of our ad budget. And quite frankly, I had a feeling this was too good to be true anyway. And since my friend and I were both broke at the time, we couldn't afford to keep spending money on Facebook ads, especially when we were not even breaking even. We also faced another issue because whenever we would try to build a new Shopify store around a new winning product, Facebook ads would ban our ad accounts. It wouldn't even allow us to run ads. So we would waste weeks of our time trying to find a winning product, building a store, only to have no way to market that product because Facebook ads would not allow us to run ads. So my best friend and I, we stopped dropshipping for a while until we stumbled upon another opportunity. This time, we could do dropshipping, but instead of using paid advertising, we could use organic marketing. So we buy another course for 900 bucks that promises to teach us everything. The method that was taught in the course was actually pretty clever. Instead of building a Shopify store centered around only one product, we would try to build a legitimate brand that we could later on turn into a real e-commerce company. So instead of choosing a hyped product that wouldn't last long, we decided to sell fitness clothes for women because we both knew the fitness industry was huge and would keep growing in the future. We decided to name our brand Belka Aesthetics. Don't ask me why, because honestly, I don't even know. And then, to get traffic onto our product page, what we would do is find small Instagram accounts between 500 followers up to 5,000 followers, and we would send them a DM to essentially become our affiliates. We would give them a special discount code that they could use with their own followers, and every time one of their followers would buy one of our products on our website, they would receive a 10% commission on the profits as our affiliate. I can tell you that I was sending as many DMs as I could on Instagram every single day to try to get as many influencers as possible to become ambassadors for our brand. And that actually worked, surprisingly enough. And I think at some point we had a few hundred people actually promoting our brand actively on social media. While we had a lot of people reject our offer, even very small creators like 300 followers, they would tell us, oh, I don't want a discount code, instead send me a free product. But obviously we couldn't afford to do that. At the same time, a lot of people agreed to become our ambassadors. So we started making a few $100 within just a few days. But as you can probably tell, when things start to go well, shortly after they go to shit. The problem is that at this time of my life, I had severe shiny object syndrome. Shiny object syndrome affects a lot of beginners in business. It simply means that you can't stick to one business opportunity because you're always trying to find better opportunities. But the issue is that by refusing to stick to anything for at the very least 6 months, all you end up doing is spreading yourself thin and in the end going nowhere. That's exactly what my problem was. I'd see a little success with something, but then immediately jump onto another opportunity I deemed best. I was far too impatient. I wanted to make money right now, without taking the time to develop things further. So I was always looking looking at the competition and thinking, their product looks better than ours, let's copy them instead and sell what they're selling. My best friend went along with that, and after having a couple customers, we decided to close down Belka Aesthetics. And the same pattern would repeat itself for months. I'd see a competitor want to copy them and convince my friend that we should close down our current Shopify store to build another one based around another product. After all, in the matter of just a few short months, we went from selling flat squeeze mops to fitness apparel for women, then bracelets, hoodies, acupressure mats, and so on and so forth. Eventually, my best friend and I started to get tired of it, and so we decided to stop dropshipping. We even stopped speaking for a while because it soured our relationship. Now, to be honest with you, and my best friend knew this at the time, deep down, I had always known that dropshipping wasn't the business model for me, which is probably why I was having a really hard time just picking one product and sticking with it. I was essentially throwing spaghetti at the wall to see if something would stick, but without a real tangible strategy behind it. And let me tell you, that's not how you build a successful business. I knew that I wanted to start a business where I would be providing more value to customers, more so than reselling crappy AliExpress products, which were very overpriced. I didn't feel like I was aligned with my purpose at all. I knew that I wanted to do something closer to educating, teaching, but with my very small track record at the time, I wasn't gonna go into the world of online courses because it wouldn't have made sense for me to do that. Then one day, I stumbled upon people doing consulting online, selling services, and because that feels more aligned with my goals, I decided to start my own consulting business. I fall in love with the idea of selling high-ticket services and only having to deal with a couple customers, so I launched my first ever consulting offer. At the time, I called my business Aspire Performance. I wanted to call it Aspire Performance, but the name was already taken, unfortunately. I decided I was going to help entrepreneurs to improve their productivity through biohacking techniques.
How to scale to 6 and 7 figures and even beyond by optimizing your performance and health.
Because at the time, I understood the importance of having clear routines, clear habits as an entrepreneur, especially as a solopreneur, if you wanted to actually see results and to be able to do the work. And I figured, if I were to sell high-ticket services to entrepreneurs, at least they could afford them. So it made more sense to do that as opposed to try to sell high-ticket fitness coaching to everyday people. So I started trying to reach out to potential customers on LinkedIn, but I find myself unable to take action. I'm paralyzed by fear. I think I can't do it. I think I'm not cut out for it. I start doubting everything about my business. I lose confidence in myself. I think none of these successful business people will take me seriously. They'll make fun of me, I think. Somehow, I still manage to force myself to reach out to a few leads, but the truth is when they answer me, I'm too afraid to go and to open up their messages. And so I procrastinate working on that business for 7 full months. And at the time, I had severe social anxiety, to the point I couldn't even leave my parents' house to go for a walk outside. And so because of my inability to face my fears, to take action, I become more and more dissatisfied with myself and with my life. I start wondering, what the hell is wrong with me? Why can't I do the work? I know I want to do this. Why am I holding myself back? It made no sense to me at the time. And it's not like it was the first time in my life I had to do something scary or difficult. So why couldn't I move forward despite wanting to? But then one day, as I'm watching YouTube videos, I learned about an entrepreneur called Sam Ovens and his program Consulting Accelerator.
You know, a lot of people, I swear they think it's like black magic or something. Like, oh man, how did that guy start a business and make money and do all of that? They're like, maybe he summoned some weird thing or did some voodoo stuff, or like maybe he got struck by lightning or some weird crap like that. That's not how it works. That's how people who don't understand things like rationalize things. And that's messed up.
I start watching his free content on his YouTube channel and I become fascinated by his way of thinking. I watch his free webinar all the way to the end and I am blown away by the level of success he's been able to accomplish. In just a few years, he had made over $50 million selling consulting services and online training programs. That's when I knew I needed to learn from that guy. So I joined this program and I was honestly shocked at how good it was. Any other course I had been given access to before was very bad in comparison with his. In his mindset training, he taught a fundamental concept. He explained that to go from working in his parents' basement in New Zealand to making dozens of millions of dollars per year from his New York penthouse, he had to become a completely different version of himself. He explained that back then, when he was trying to achieve his goals as who he was, the scared, anxious, undisciplined version of himself, the truth is it only resulted in an endless cycle of self-sabotage and of failure. And that is exactly what I was going through at the time. And so in his program, he tells me to start tracking my habits. That way I can become become more disciplined, I can keep myself accountable. And he also tells me to start doing things which are completely opposite to the things I normally do. And that's when I decided to do something that was completely crazy for me at the time. I decided I am going to do one thing that scares me every single day. Too anxious to take a phone call? Alright, I'm gonna pick up the phone now and I'm gonna call a stranger. Too afraid to leave the house? Okay, I'm gonna go grab my shoes and I'm gonna go for a walk now. I remember this moment especially well. I went outside for the first time in months probably, and I went for a walk in the woods near my parents' house. I recorded a quick video and a picture of the woods and sent it to my best friend. He was absolutely shocked. He even went as far as congratulating me. He said, "Oh my god, you went outside? Congrats, brother, you're making a huge step forward," because he knew how anxious and how scared I felt at the time. And I took a screenshot of that moment because I knew for some reason that one day I would tell the story. And so as I start overcoming my fears one after the other, my self-confidence starts to increase as well, up to the point I finally feel ready to confront my biggest fear and to start my own consulting business, this time for real. Armed with the knowledge I learned from Sam Ovence's teachings and with the newfound confidence I found after forcing myself to do the things I was so afraid to do, I decided to start a new consulting business, but this time based on lead generation for business owners. That was the birth of what I called at the time up-level systems.
As you can see, not a single day is left blank. There's always a sales call every single day.
The reason for starting this business was pretty simple. Instead of selling what I thought people wanted, aka biohacking for entrepreneurs, I decided to sell what they needed. And what do business owners need, I asked myself? Meetings, leads, customers. Client acquisition is a fundamental part of any business. Without customers, no sales will be made. And without sales, without cash flow, a business quickly dies. So I start reaching out to potential customers. And I also start to make content to build trust with my prospects and to convert them more easily. I showcase my knowledge. I explain what I can do for them. You can see the first few videos I posted on my YouTube channel back in 2022. They were actually video sales letters that I would typically show some of my prospects.
This is proof right here of what we are able to accomplish. This is the booked sales calls for 1 week of August, in the beginning of August. As you can see, we have a sales call every single day. And then this is the tracker in Excel that we use to keep track of all the people who said, "Yep, I'm interested to hear more about what you have to offer." And as you can see, in yellow, it's the amount of people who booked a call. And of course, there's lots of scrolling to do if you want to see all of the leads, but this is just a snapshot of it. And here's some more proof again. Someone said, "Hey, I scheduled for tomorrow at 5:30 p.m., as you can see on Facebook. And then those are notifications of appointments about to start on Zoom.
Now, I can't say that everything went smoothly, to tell you the truth, because I still had a lot of things to learn. In fact, my first booked meeting ever was actually a no-show. Over time, with practice, and after hundreds of hours of researching the science of sales, of outreach, I start to get better at these things. I start booking more and more calls, and I managed to make multiple 4 figures per month booking meetings for other business owners. I was dealing with a few customers at the time, charging around $2,000 per month per customer. At some point, I eventually got tired of being a glorified freelancer and doing everything myself for my customers. Done-for-you work was taking up my entire day, and I knew I needed to do something different. Now, on sales calls at the same time, I would notice that a lot of people wanted to work with me but couldn't afford a 4-figure price tag, either because they were just getting started in business and genuinely didn't have the money, or because it simply wasn't the right time for them to invest. And every single time, I felt bad for these people, genuinely, especially the people who needed my services the most but couldn't afford them.
But because of what you've said to me, at this moment, you're not making any money with this business, correct?
Yes, I want some free advice. I can't pay anything right now.
So I would always give them a bit of advice for free. But then, more and more people started to reach out to me via LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, even email to ask me how I was able to book so many meetings for my customers and if I could teach them how to do the same. And so I thought, you know what, instead of booking meetings myself for other people, maybe I can teach them how to do it themselves. So at first, I started to take some sales calls with these leads to essentially do some market research and to understand how I could help them. And that's when I realized that these people not only needed help with booking more meetings, but also with their sales tactics, with their niche, with their offer, even with their mindset, with literally everything. The ones that were just starting out, not even making $1,000 per month yet, they were the ones who needed the most amount of help. which makes sense. Which is why I created at the time my first ever real online program called Consulting Fastlane. The goal of that program was to take any beginner from 0 to 5,000 up to 10,000 euros per month selling services online. And at the same time, to promote my program, I started to make more YouTube videos. Sometimes I was making up to 2 videos per day. And even though I admit, now looking back, I realize they weren't the highest quality, but it definitely taught me a lot. And while I don't have a big subscriber base, even as of right now, as I'm recording this, I only have 2.64k subscribers on my YouTube channel. What mattered more than subscribers and likes, it was getting the right people to view my videos. So I started to build an email list, a small audience, and to convert cold leads into warm leads and even into paying customers. I've always believed in utilizing content as a way to generate new, warm, inbound leads as opposed to only relying on outreach. Because when you make valuable content for your prospects will come to you. You won't have to go to them necessarily. Now that doesn't mean you should ditch outreach altogether, and especially if you're just starting out, because it taught me a lot. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't done any outreach. But marrying both outreach and creating valuable content for your niche can be a very, very powerful asset, even if you're just starting out. And it's by selling this digital product that I was able to break past that plateau in my business and generate upwards of $1,000 a day at only 21 years old. And on top of that, in less than 6 months, I was able to generate over 35 million views across all social media platforms, starting with no audience. And I didn't spend a single penny on paid advertising. To celebrate, I traveled a bit, I finally got to enjoy life, and I went to Canary Wharf, which is one of my favorite cities so far, and I had the privilege of staying in one of the best buildings in Europe. So I know that this was quite long, but to be honest, summing up 21 years in a single video is actually pretty difficult. But now that you know my story, who I am, how I ended up here, let's build your own online business step by step, even starting with $0 and no previous experience or skills. Remember, it's a simple YouTube video that changed my life over 10 years ago. And by making this video, I'm only hoping I can be that same person for you. First, I'm going to explain the difference between a cash flow business and a valuation business. In just a few seconds, you'll understand why this is extremely important. Then, I'll go over the two paths to $10,000 per month in 2024 and beyond, and we'll go over the pros and cons of each so you can pick the best for you. Either way, we'll go in depth on what to sell, who to sell it to, and how to craft an offer so good you'll effortlessly differentiate yourself from the competition, even if you choose to operate in a crowded market. And after that, I'll give you the step-by-step process that you can use to get started with one of these two paths as soon as you're done watching this video. Now first, you need to understand there are two big categories of businesses that you can start. There are cash flow businesses and valuation businesses. To keep things simple, the goal of a cash flow business is to generate as much profit as possible with as little cost as possible. So the focus is not on revenue, but on profit. And to give you an example of what this looks like in reality, this could be selling services or even selling digital products. Those are typically cash flow businesses. Both services and digital products have very little costs involved, while at the same time having the potential for very high profit margins, up to 99%. My current business is a cash flow business. The goal isn't for my business to be worth $1 billion so I can sell it. The goal is to pay for my lifestyle expenses while at the same time empowering other individuals to succeed online the same way I did. While the goal of a valuation business is to increase the valuation of that business as much as possible. Why? Because typically at some point the goal is to sell it and to make a big exit. For example, let's say you start a software company or an e-commerce brand. Well, typically you might need $300,000 to start that business. And to give you actual examples, Instagram is a valuation business, not a cash flow business. Shopify is a valuation business, not a cash flow business. You need a lot of money to be able to start these kind of businesses. There are lots of costs involved and profit margins are typically very small. To give you an example, most profitable e-commerce companies only get between 5 to 20% net profit margins. So as a beginner, I would not recommend trying to start a valuation business. If you fail, and believe me, 90% of startups fail within a couple years, you risk a lot. If you do one day want to start a software company, a proper e-commerce brand, then you'll be able to do that because you'll have more experience, more knowledge of business. But on top of that, if you start a cash flow business, you'll be able to use the profits generated with your business to start your dream company, like a software company. And that's how you can start a $100 million company, a $1 billion company, even without having investors. but that's a topic for another video. The thing you need to remember is that as a beginner, your goal should be to start a business, preferably online, that allows you to make $5,000 per month up to $10,000 per month with as high as 98% profit margins. So now that you know why you should be focusing on starting a cash flow online business instead of starting just any business, I'm going to share with you the 2 best paths to $10,000 per month in 2024 and beyond. As you know, if you watched the section of this video on my story, I've personally tried many business models in the last decade, all the way from selling candies in the neighborhood, trying to sell shoutouts on Instagram, and even dropshipping with Facebook ads. And trying so many different business models allowed me to see the pros and cons of each. Now, when you start a business, you need something to sell. There are typically 3 different types of goods that you can sell. You can either sell services, digital products, or physical products. Now, as a beginner in business, I don't personally recommend starting by selling physical products. Why? Because they come with a lot of costs, lower profit margins, high competition, long shipping times, and delivery issues, among many other things. Instead, the quickest and the easiest road to $5,000 to $10,000 per month in 2024 and beyond is to sell services online or digital products. So in the next parts of this video, I'm going to share with you the step-by-step process that you can use to start selling services online, even without any previous work experience or skills. And with the game plan I'm going to share with you, you'll even be able to sell services to your customers without even having to deliver those same services yourself. And then I'm also going to show you again step by step how to sell digital products online, even starting with 0 followers, because the truth is you don't need millions of followers. At the time I'm recording this video, my YouTube channel is very small, 2.65k subscribers, and you will also be able to sell digital products without having to show your face online and without having to spend a single cent on paid advertising. So this means you're gonna get customers for free. So how do you know if you should start by selling services or digital products? Technically speaking, there isn't a black and white answer. It's really going to depend on you and your unique situation. I started by selling done-for-you services because I didn't have much to teach initially, or at least that's what I thought. But let's say you're a very decent piano player. You could, for instance, decide to start selling sheet music online or online courses to people who want to learn to play the piano. Or let's say you're in great shape and previously you used to be pretty skinny or overweight. You could package your knowledge in an online course, in an ebook, or even in coaching. Now, if you have no knowledge to share at the moment, at least not something that people would be willing to pay money for, you can still, technically speaking, sell digital products by selling other people's products with their permission, of course. But that is simply affiliate marketing. The upside of doing this is that you don't have to bother creating a product yourself, which can take months, and you also won't have to worry about delivering the product and the whole customer support aspect. The downside though is that, of course, if you decide to promote somebody else's product, you will only get a percentage on that sale, and so you will make less money per transaction than if you simply were to sell your own digital products. Now, the beauty with services is that they're typically easier to sell. Why? Because people are lazy. People want you to do everything for them without having to lift a finger. And not just that, anybody can get started selling services online, even with no previous experience or skills. And that alone can get you to multiple 4 figures a month pretty rapidly. In the next phase of this video, I'll show you step by step how you can sell services online by leveraging contractors, meaning you'll be able to sell any service without even knowing how to do it yourself. So for instance, you'll be able to provide video editing services without knowing how to edit videos yourself. You'll be able to provide lead generation services even without knowing how to do it yourself. And the big advantage of selling services over simply digital products is that typically you charge a high ticket price and it's monthly recurring. When selling services, you can charge anywhere between $500 per month up to $5,000 per month. Now, if you really have a killer offer, you get insane results. Sometimes you can even charge $10,000, but for beginners, it's not realistic. But so if you sign a customer, usually for a minimum term of 3 months, that means that for the next 3 months, you're guaranteed to make in total 1.5k up to 15k. So let's say you're providing video editing services for content creators, leveraging the experience of contractors from countries like Peru, Brazil, and you charge 2.5k per month per customer. With only 2 customers, you're now making $5,000 per month. And while you do need to pay your contractors, you will keep the biggest part of the profits. So how do we actually sell services online, even without any previous experience, skills, or even without delivering those same services ourselves? First, we need you to pick a niche and to create an offer based around that niche's problems and goals. Ask yourself, who would I like to work with? Make a list of all the industries that you have an interest in and that you know. If you have an unfair advantage in one of these industries, I highly suggest you pick this one. Let's say, for instance, your parents were lawyers, you probably have a pretty good understanding of lawyers and their problems, their desires. So it's probably a good idea to pick that niche and to help these people. Now, to give you another example, let's say you decided to work with content creators. First, you could decide to niche down even more and to pick a specific avatar of content creator. For the sake of the example, let's say you decided to target business owners who create content online. Well, what do business owners who are also content creators typically want? They want more views, which leads to more leads, more opt-ins, more booked calls, more sales, more profit. So now that you know who you are targeting, how do you find what to sell to them? To find the answer to this question, ask yourself, what do these people typically need? If we stick with the example of content creators, they could need video editing, thumbnail design, web design, someone to help them come up with new video ideas. They could need a scriptwriter. They could need content repurposing, help launching a new product, help launching their own podcast and inviting popular guests. They could need a creative director, someone to get them sponsors, someone to make retargeting ads for them, or even somebody to help them with the aesthetics of their videos, to teach them about lighting, about sound, about filmmaking. And technically, nothing actually prevents you from providing all of those services at once. So as you can see, in just a matter of minutes, you can quickly come up with lots of different services to sell to your niche. And in this example, it was content creators. But also keep in mind, this works with literally any niche. Now, like I said at the time, my first ever consulting offer was actually productivity coaching for entrepreneurs. And while at the time it didn't work for me, it's not because the idea itself was bad. In fact, I stole the idea from a successful competitor because I knew if somebody else is doing that successfully, it means there's a market, there's demand, and I don't run the risk of launching my business and getting no customers because nobody cares. At least if I failed, the problem wouldn't be my offer. And that's true because the reason why I didn't succeed at the time with this offer, it's because I needed to become a different version of myself. I was so anxious, I was procrastinating working for 7 full months. So no wonder why I wasn't signing any customers, but it wasn't because of my offer. A lot of people are afraid of competition, but competition is a good sign. It means it's a healthy market. Nobody would be fighting for their share of the market if it was a bad market with no money to be made. The worst thing that you can do is think that you're selling something revolutionary, then you go to market and nobody cares. Your offer sucks and no one wants it. Now it's true that if you guess right, you're the first in the market and people actually want what you have to offer, you'll become a billionaire. But I don't know about you, but I would much rather have a guaranteed opportunity to make 6, even 7 figures a year as opposed to a 1 in 1,000 chance of becoming a billionaire. So now that you know who you're helping and with what, the question becomes, how do we find leads? You have to ask yourself, where do the people I am trying to reach congregate online? And typically, no matter what your niche is, the answer is going to be on social media. If you provide services, which is typically going to fall within the B2B category, LinkedIn is a gold mine because it's the biggest database of business owners in the whole world. Now on LinkedIn, you want to have a profile picture that clearly shows your face and a simple banner stating what you do and who you help, because typically when people stumble upon your profile, it's the first thing they're going to see. And as the saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now when it comes to your bio, it should be straight to the point, clear and easy to read, and spark people's curiosity. You should explain who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. Now when that's done, when your profile is ready, you want to start connecting with 10 people per day. Now technically speaking, it's a bit more than that because LinkedIn allows you to send up to 100 invites per week. So I suggest sending 100 invites per week. But you don't just want to add anybody as a connection request. Instead, you want to add qualified leads that could potentially be interested in what you have to offer. Now I suggest you do the same thing on Facebook and on Instagram because having more platforms, being on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, as opposed to just being on LinkedIn or just on Facebook or just on Instagram, it will increase your chances of signing a customer. You'll be able to reach out to more people and to send more DMs on a daily basis. And the big advantage of Instagram is that unlike Facebook and LinkedIn, you can actually reach out to as many people as you want. Now personally, from my own experience, LinkedIn and Facebook got me the best results. I was booking the most meetings using LinkedIn and Facebook. Now on your profile, I suggest you have some content showcasing your expertise, who you are and how you can help. It doesn't mean that you have to make specific content for each platform. You can use the same things on Instagram, turn it into a LinkedIn post and turn it into a Facebook post. But if people click on your profile and they see that there's nothing, it's blank, it won't look trustworthy. When I have some people reach out to me, they don't even have a profile picture, I'm not exactly going to respond to them because I don't trust them. And when you have free valuable content on your profile, showcasing your expertise, who you are, how you can help your prospect, what this will do is pre-qualify leads before they even hop on a sales meeting with you. You have to understand that before you go on a sales call with a potential customer, 80% of the time, they've already made up their mind. So the real game happens not even while you're on the sales meeting, but before. And when you make valuable content that resonates with your prospects, they will literally convince themselves you're the one they need. And so then when they hop on a sales meeting with you, they will be a lot more inclined to actually go ahead and accept your offer. Now you may wonder, what about cold email? The thing with cold email is that it only has a 1% opening rate, whereas with social media, like Facebook and LinkedIn, the opening rate is much higher. Sometimes it can be as high as 50%, which is insane, but the average is closer to something like even 30%, which is still huge. Cold email is more of a volume game, whereas on platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook, it's more about taking the time to really understand the human being you're speaking to. Imagine going to a networking event event in real life and telling the same thing to everyone. It's not exactly going to make you look good. So treat LinkedIn the same way. Now, before you do reach out to a prospect, make sure you do a bit of research about them. Because I can tell you for a fact, there is nothing more annoying than receiving the most generic message from somebody who didn't even take the time to just look at my profile. Or worse, somebody who sends me a message with the wrong name in it. That shows they didn't pay attention at all and they simply don't care. And once you've made a mistake like that, good luck getting the trust of the prospect. Now, a great thing to do when you reach out to a prospect is to offer some free value. For instance, if in your service you include creating thumbnails for content creators, you can ask your lead if they would like to receive a free thumbnail. Or if you provide lead generation services, you could ask them if they would like to receive a free video in which you're going to explain how you book meetings effortlessly. That's exactly what I was doing. I would ask people if I could send them a free value video. A lot of them would say yes, and per day I was getting dozens of warm leads. So they would go from being a cold lead, somebody who doesn't know me at all, to being a warm lead. They've shown interest, and then these same people, they were much more likely to book a sales meeting with me and to later on turn into paying customers. Now, I found it's better to ask instead of sending the free video or the free thumbnail, the free value straight away, because some people won't answer to you. It's a numbers game, that's how it works. So by making the free value before you send it, you essentially waste a lot of time on people who are never going to answer anyway. Only give the free value to people who actually say yes. Now, typically, after they receive the free value, they'll either be interested or simply don't care. If they don't care, don't waste your time, just move on to another lead. You have to remember, there are plenty of fish in the sea. You don't want to come off as needy, like you need those customers. Move on to the next prospect. Now, if they seem interested, you can invite them on a quick 20 to 30 minute meeting to show them exactly how you could help them to reach their goals. Now, during a sales meeting, you can follow this proven step-by-step framework. The first part is the icebreaker. You want to say something simple like, "Can you hear me well?" Or things like, "Where are you based?" You just get the conversation going. This shouldn't last long, just a few minutes maximum. Then, once the conversation gets going, it's time to start asking them some questions to see if you can actually help them. And when you do this, you're trying to get a real good understanding of where they are right now and where they want to be. And what comes after that is clearly showcasing your expertise, explaining to them how you can help. Now, you want to focus on the outcome that they want, not on the service itself, because people don't buy services, people don't buy coaching, people don't buy online courses, people buy an outcome. So focus on how you can help them to reach that outcome faster and more efficiently than if they were to try to do it on their own. And finally, if they're a good fit, you want to make them an offer and reveal the pricing. To incentivize your prospects to buy sooner rather than later, you can give them a special discount if they accept your offer within the following week. If they want in, they're interested, send them a Stripe or a PayPal payment link. Now, after the sales meetings, you want to follow up with the leads. Don't hesitate to send them a message to ask if they need more explanations or if they need more time to think about it. Or something else which is great to do is to send them some more free value. Now, when you do sign a customer, either you can deliver the services yourself. If you have the expertise, great, do that. Or you can get a contractor to deliver the services for you. And the best part about it is that you won't have to pay them out of pocket. First you get a customer and only then do you pay the contractor. Finding a contractor is not the hardest part, but finding a good one is. The best way to find a great contractor will still be to ask within your own network, which is why it is essential to build one, and the best place to do that is actually LinkedIn. But let's say you're just starting out, you don't have a personal brand, nobody knows you. What you can do is go search for contractors inside of Facebook groups. A lot of great contractors actually find their own customers from Facebook groups, so you'll find plenty there. You can also use websites like Upwork to either find somebody who's looking for a job or publish your own job offer yourself. And you can also leverage platforms like Fiverr, because typically you will find plenty of freelancers there. And a lot of those freelancers, they don't even make any money because Fiverr is typically favoring the biggest earners on the platform. But so a lot of good freelancers don't even get noticed. Now, the thing you may be wondering is, okay, that's great, but why would these freelancers, these contractors, not start their own consulting business themselves? Why would they need me? The reason for that is pretty simple. Not everyone wants to be a business owner. Freelancers are typically great at what they do, but they often struggle with the sales part, with the customer acquisition process. Think about a great singer who just doesn't know how to put themselves out there. And before social media, it was even more relevant. They needed to sign a deal with a record label. Nowadays, you can post yourself singing on TikTok and on YouTube and you can go viral. But back then, that wasn't the case. So by working with contractors, you solve that problem for them. You get them customers. And believe me, a lot of very good freelancers, even to this day, struggle to get customers. Not to mention that if you work with contractors from countries like Brazil, Peru, they get to make a lot more money working with you than if they were to work a regular job in their home country. Now let's move on to path number 2, which is to sell digital products. But first, what's a digital product? It can be an ebook, a course, even a subscription program. So now the question becomes, how do you sell digital products even without having to show your face online, without having hundreds of thousands of followers or millions of followers, and how do you do it all organically organically without having to spend a single cent on paid advertising. But first, who should sell digital products? This is for you if you have a specific interest in a particular industry. It could be fitness, cooking, it could be yoga, traveling, video editing, filmmaking, finance, anything. And then you want to make sales on autopilot as you're asleep. It's not passive income, but it gets pretty close. So what are the pros of selling digital products? You get to dissociate your earnings from your time, and that is essential to become truly wealthy. One of the first lessons you typically learn when you start reading books on finances and on money is that the wealthy don't work for money. They have money work for them instead. And how do they do this? With businesses, through different investments. Now, if done right, you can positively impact people's lives and genuinely make the world a better place. I'm personally completely fed up with the international education system. I think that getting massively in debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, to not even have a guarantee that you're gonna get a job is a very bad offer. Instead, I believe most skills could be taught online. This is also for you if you have a passion and you want to make a living doing exactly what you love. And considering the amount of time that we spend working in a lifetime, this is a considerable benefit to selling digital products. Now, the beauty with digital products is that you only need to create the product one time and then you can sell it an infinite amount of times. And lastly, profit margins are extremely high, close to 98%, because there are very little costs involved with digital products. Aside from a couple softwares to pay for, you won't have many expenses and you can even get started for completely free. Now, the downside of digital products is that typically you will make less money per transaction compared to services, because with a service you could charge $2,000 per month, whereas with digital products you typically make less per transaction and it's not monthly recurring. You need to get new customers. Now, to start selling digital products, just like with selling services online, you need to first pick a niche. I invite you to make a list of every industry you have an interest in, but to give you a few examples, there are many different industries. There's travel, cooking, yoga, bodybuilding, filmmaking, business, the stock market, video editing, web design, fashion, playing an instrument, self-improvement, boxing, and so on and so forth. Typically, human beings have three main desires. The first is the desire for health, the second is love, and the third is social status. And within these three big categories, you will find lots of subcategories. If we take the example of health and fitness, it's a very broad category, so we need you to niche down a bit. But under that same category, health and fitness, you will find, for example, a specific diet, like the keto diet, a specific way of training, or a specific sport, like bodybuilding, or a martial art, mountain climbing, hiking. But then you'll also find problems that people have, like pains, like back pain. Then you have fat loss, healthy recipes, recipes to lose weight, recipes to gain weight, recipes for vegans, recipes for the paleo diet, and many more. So now that we have the who, your niche, we need the what. What are you going to sell to that niche? You can typically sell coaching, ebooks, online courses, or even paid subscriptions. Some people have paid newsletters, to give you an example. Now, don't build your product just yet, even if you know what you're going to sell. For now, just keep it in mind. Now that you have your niche, now that you know what you're going to sell, it's time to get some eyeballs in front of your offer, because you could be selling the best product in the world, but if nobody even knows that you exist, the truth is you won't make a single cent. And the best way to sell digital products is to use organic marketing on social media, especially if you're just starting out. I don't recommend that you go to paid ads, especially when you could just be getting customers for free instead. So what this means is that in order to get leads, customers for your products, we are going to need to create content on social media. Now, remember what I said earlier, just because you make content on social media doesn't mean you necessarily have to show your face online. There are plenty of people who don't show their faces and they still make a lot of money. And here are a few examples. As you can see, the YouTube channel Far From Weak makes content around self-improvement for young men, and they have their own newsletter. They use B-roll footage inside of the content instead of showing somebody's face, and I'm pretty sure they're paying a voice actor. And as you can see in the description of their videos, they invite people to join the newsletter, which is essentially a way to send people marketing email to then sell them products. But we'll talk about why and how to build your email list in just a minute. For now, here's another example of a faceless YouTube channel. The YouTube channel She Cooks is a cooking channel with over 1.56 million subscribers. The channel Brightside has over 44 million subscribers and more than 11 billion views. I can let you imagine how much money they've made only through AdSense revenue. Now imagine if on top of that they had sponsorships. And to give you yet another example, the channel Easy Actually is another example of a faceless YouTube channel that's actually growing in popularity and that's working very well. Now this doesn't only work on YouTube, but also on every other social media platform. For example, the faceless Instagram account Keys Tutorials is posting piano tutorials and it's getting millions of views per videos. Some of their videos even got hundreds of millions of views. That is insane. And they're making a big mistake. They get all of this traffic for completely free, but they don't even have a link in their bio directing people to a free lead magnet. That is literally costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars per a month. So here's the step-by-step strategy. Once you have your niche and your offer, you know what you're going to sell, a course or an ebook, don't build that product just yet. Instead, we are going to sell it before we build it. Because just think about this. Let's say you pick your niche. You have a product idea and you start working on it. It takes you weeks or even months to make that product, and then nobody buys. You've just wasted months making a product nobody cares about. Or let's say now you built your product, but you have nobody to sell it to. You've got no audience, no traffic. Then how will you get customers? You won't. So to avoid that, what we need to do is to start making free valuable content for a specific type of audience, your niche, and offer a free lead magnet. It could be an ebook, a short video, which is very valuable, in exchange of people's email address. The reason why we want to get people's email address is to send them free valuable emails showcasing our expertise and how we can help them. Not only does it build trust with the leads, but they are later on more likely to convert and to become paying customers. Because the truth is, in any given market, most people are simply not willing to buy from you right now. Maybe it's just not the right time for them, maybe they've bought something not that long ago, maybe they need a little more convincing. There are many different reasons as to why. However, that doesn't mean they won't buy later down the line. In fact, a lot of people, they buy a few weeks or even a few months after they opt in. And on top of that, building your own email list is crucial because you never run the risk of having to start all over again from scratch, even if for some reason your account were to get shut down. So now we need to focus on creating free valuable content for your niche to get traffic to our free lead magnet. But first, I want to buzz down a few myths that prevent people from succeeding in the creator economy. The first thing you need to understand is that followers don't matter as much as before. Why? Because with the arrival of short form platforms like TikTok, known before as Musical.ly, social media algorithms have profoundly changed. Whereas before you needed a big audience, millions of followers to get lots of views, that is no longer the case today. Nowadays, you can make a brand new account, post a great piece of content that resonates with your viewers and go viral overnight. Your entire life can change overnight, and in reality, you don't even need millions of followers or to go viral to make a lot of money. And that is why the internet is the great equalizer and the greatest opportunity we have ever seen ever since the dawn of modern civilization to build great wealth starting from nothing. There are small accounts like mine that are able to generate a lot of money because they follow the right strategy, while there are some big influencer accounts with millions of followers who can't even sell a freaking t-shirt. So don't get hung up on the number of followers, because at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, would I rather chase vanity metrics like likes, followers, or would I rather see my bank balance grow month after month? That's the real choice you need to make. Instead of optimizing for followers, you want to optimize for views. However, you still need to be careful because views can still be a vanity metric. Not every view is equal. If I were to post a video about fitness, maybe get 10,000 views, that's great, it would feed my ego, but if I sell products related to business and finance, that's not really gonna help me. Instead, you want to focus on getting the right viewers for your content. And the way that you do that is not by making the content that you think people want, but rather by making the type of content that your ideal customer avatar actually consumes. And the best way to find that out is to find competitors in your niche and to sort their videos by most popular and to remake a similar version of those videos with your own twist. Because if a video got lots of views, chances are it's because people enjoyed it and they would gladly see more of that same content. My ideal customer avatar wants to learn to make money online. So if I make a video on how to get the six-pack abs, what's the point? So now what comes after that is to do some research on your niche. Find the top 20 content creators in your niche. Like let's say you're on Instagram, find the top 20 content creators on Instagram for your niche and look at their most popular posts. Ask yourself, how can I make my own version of this? How can I make it slightly better? You don't want to copy paste other people's content. Instead, you want to take ideas for sure, be inspired, but always remake the content with your own twist. Now the next step, and this one is extremely important, is to make your content relatable and to share your story with people. I realized I wasn't sharing enough of my story with my viewers, and so it prevented them from fully trusting me and from building a real connection, which is why now I'm starting to share a lot more of my story. You have to understand that in the creator economy, people want to buy from creators they feel like they know, like, and trust. Which is why sharing your own personal story is an essential part of the recipe, and it will also help you to differentiate yourself from the competition in your market. Great storytelling is what differentiates successful creators from unsuccessful ones. Now you have your whole funnel in place. You make content on a specific topic, you drive people to your landing page, collect their emails, and then make them an offer. But what happens next? You need to create a retargeting email campaign. Remember what we said earlier, not everyone who stumbles upon your content or your offer will actually buy right now. In fact, most people won't. Which is why every 2 to 3 days, you want to send a new retargeting email to your list. However, you don't want to do this forever. Sometimes you need to take a break. Typically, I advise people to start sending 5 to 10 emails, but no more. In these emails, you want to again share some value, help the person, share your story, make it relatable, and at the end of the email, you can have a call to action to direct people to your offer if they feel finally ready to buy now. Now, as you start making some content, you will see that some posts go viral while some simply just go nowhere. That's because in anything in life, typically only 20% of the things that you do actually bring you 80% of the results. In this case, only 20% of the content that you publish will actually get 80% of the views. If you take a look at my YouTube channel, I have often remade the same videos or similar videos. Why? Because only 20% of my content got 80% of the views. And if you give people more of what they want, everybody wins in the end. Because trust me, there is nothing more frustrating than putting a lot of effort into making one video and then it's stuck under 100 views. Now it's time to set up your business. So that part is pretty simple. Whether you choose to sell services online or digital products, the process will be the same, which is why I decided to group these instructions in the same section of this video. First, you need to pick a name for your business. You can use a name generator online if you lack inspiration, but honestly, it should take you no more than 30 minutes to come up with a name. You can use your own last name, your initials, it doesn't exactly matter. I mean, one of the biggest companies in the world as we're speaking is called Apple, yet what they sell has nothing to do with apples. It still didn't prevent them from becoming leaders in the tech industry and making billions of dollars. Then, you want to buy a domain name and a professional email address. This shouldn't cost you more than $50 per year at best. You can choose any provider such as OVH, GoDaddy, Namecheap, Domain.com or even Bluehost. After that, it's time to open up a Stripe and a PayPal account. Now what's great with Stripe is that they actually let people open up an account as young as 13 years old. So as you can see, even if you're young, it's no excuse not to get started. There are some tools at your disposal. If you're going to sell services, create your profile on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram. Now if you're going to sell digital products, pick one platform, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, it could be even X, and stick with that platform. Now I already know